All right, so we are back. This one is specifically for HVAC companies that are focused on residential or commercial clients that want to grow organically on Google, specifically for those. And when I have a chat with those types of directors, owners of those businesses, like the majority of times, I hear that when it comes to location pages, which is essentially just having a specific service page for a specific location, usually people treat this like an afterthought. What this means is that they, for example, they just either just ignore creating those pages, or they try to create stuff like the most optimal pages possible. Like, for example, like having one service but trying to target multiple locations with this. Like, for example, if you try to rank for, let's say, for air source heat pump installation in both Leeds, Manchester, and also London at the same time, with one page. Also, sometimes what happens is that they try to rank with multiple services for one page as well. So, like, they flip the script as well. So they try to rank for air source heat pump installation, air source heat pump repair, solar installation in, let's say, in Manchester, or just basically having multiple services as a one page for a specific location, which also is obviously not really something that is relevant. Why is not relevant? Because specificity here matters a lot, right? So the more specific you are with the targeting, the better you will be able to, first of all, explain to Google that this is the exact page for this specific type of search, right? At the same time, you'll be able to increase the conversion rate on the specific page because people will see what's going on the search page, click on the link that says this, and then they will see exactly what they saw on the search page on the actual landing page, right? So if they clicked on, let's say, like air source heat pump installation in Leeds or Plymouth, they click on this and then they land on the landing page where you specifically talk about air source heat pump installation in Plymouth or Leeds. You basically strike the goal here with that, and this way you're able to, first of all, rank very quickly on page one for those specific searches, because obviously the quality of the content and the competition for those specific searches is way less, so you cannot compete everybody very quickly if you actually have a good approach with content and so on and so forth. And we're going to discuss how you actually do this. And let's jump straight into this one. Right, and you can start. By the way, you can start generating leads from those location-specific searches very quickly just by having the right approach here. And this way, it's essentially how we do this for all of our clients, because essentially the majority of the websites that we work with, they don't have any traction with Google. So there wasn't any SEO routine done for the website. There aren't any good backlinks built for the website, so there's not really much to work with. And one of the first things that we are doing right away is just starting to routinely, systematically create location-specific pages. So this way we're able to cover all service area for all of our clients, right? And essentially how we do this is using a 5-step framework on the macro level, basically. First of all, of course, as I already mentioned a bit, one location, one intent. One of the most important things. No, actually, not one of the most, but the most important thing. If you target multiple things for one specific thing, you won't be able to target it properly. At the bare minimum, you won't have as good conversion rate. At the max, you just won't be able to even get traffic to the page in the first place. So we have one location, one intent. Even easier, one service or one product per one location, right? Like this. For example, air source heat pump installation in Leeds again, right? Something very specific. We have one service per one location. Number 2, local proof, not generic fluff. Very specific as well. So not only you focus on targeting specifically, but what you also do on the specific on the page specifically, in each section, you actually are being specific to the location you are targeting, right? So not only just on the headline, like on the H1, you just say that this is, for example, a heat pump repair in the specific city. We mean in content you also reinforce this, that you actually speak to those specific homeowners, property owners, and this is for those types of people, basically, right? So if you're targeting leads, and let's say again the same example with air source heat pump installation, you in each section you mention air source heat pump installation in leads, right? So this way, of course, you are optimized for SEO. At the same time, you also optimized for the visitor as well. If possible, which I highly recommend doing, is make sure you have photos from the specific projects and the location that you are targeting. You have testimonials, reviews, local premise, anything to do with this. Make sure that you show this, right? When it comes to a situation when you don't have the photos, for example, from the specific location, but you still want to target it, how we normally do this is we take the photo that you have, right, and then we essentially change the alt text and any relevant text. So this way you're able to have a kind of a unique image, right? We also resize it. We may add some filters to this. So this way Google treats this as a separate image, that like as a separate file that wasn't in place on the website before. So this way we're able to have something unique, basically. Now, next up is tailored copy. I specifically extracted this as a separate point. I already talked about this a bit, but here we specifically separate this. So, for example, you in the specific copy you mention streets, climate context, property types, anything to do with this, like cold winters in Aberdeen, cold winters in Manchester, let's say extremely warm or hot summers in LA, or anything to do with this. You do this, right? You essentially just tailor everything to the specific location. But in this specific point, I'm just mentioning that you can also reinforce some specific locations inside of the macro location that you're targeting, like for example some streets, some also maybe some specific phrases in the specific location, especially for some of the UK areas. You may have some different phrasings in different locations, right? And this also can be used very well, of course. And also in any state in the US, you have some different phrasings that you can use. So this way you're able to speak the right language, and also you're able to tailor the copy to the specific location. Next up, offer relevance. So of course, the actual offer and the actual CTA call to action, the point to where the traffic is going to, also should be relevant, of course. You're not trying to drive traffic to, let's say, the landing page that has tailored copy, right, on the website, and then have a very generic button, for example, right, that is just like get a free quote or just get in touch with us. So make sure at least you have it very specific, right? For example, like book a free heat pump consultation, and then in the D, this is a bonus point if you're able to add this as well. What's also good is that you essentially normally just need one CTA per page. You can just then duplicate it for each section, because normally the consistency with CTA is something that increases the conversion rate on average, just purely because people it's comfortable for them to not think about different types of CTAs and things like this. So just one CTA, very simple, and they just need some reassurance to be able to click on the CTA, basically, right? So make sure that you have a specific CTA, not something generic, and then also add this location as well, right? Now, number 5 is internal linking as well. So internal linking is also very important, especially if you have multiple services that you're trying to target with in the specific location, right? So for example, let's just a hypothetical example. Let's say for a renewable energy business, or let's say you have 2 services for heat pumps. You have installation and you have service and repair for heat pumps, right? What would be really good to do, and let's say you target Manchester, right? What would be really good to do is that you create the installation page in Manchester, right? Heat pump installation page in Manchester. Then after this, you create the heat pump repair page, or like heat pump service repair optimization page, something like this. And then after this, what you do, you interlink those pages in between. Like for example, you may have a section like in the heat pump repair page, you may have like a section purely to answer the question. Let's say, how do you understand that I need a replacement, not a repair, right? And then you can just basically link back to the installation page, essentially. And the same stuff with the installation page. You can also, like for example, in the FAQs, you can also mention, okay, let's say an FAQ, what if the heat pump that you installed breaks like in a few years? What will happen? Then you just mention that we're always happy to help here. You're not going to be left alone, so on and so forth, so on and so forth. And then you basically link to your repair page, just to make sure that people actually understand and have the reference as well, right? So make sure that you interlink everything. And even if you a very clean business, you just focus on one service, and then you have just multiple locations that you want to target for this specific service, at the bare minimum, just make sure that you interlink the core pages with those with those location specific services. Like for example, let's say hypothetically you just only install let's say going back to the example with heat pumps. Let's just say you only install heat pumps, only heat pumps, right? You don't do anything else. You don't do solar. You just purely only HVAC systems and only heat pumps. What you can do, let's say you target LA again, like going back to the LA example. What you do is that you create the core page for the heat pump installation, right? So you essentially have the core page, and then also you start creating location specific pages for neighborhoods or for the specific towns, counties in the bigger area, essentially. So, for example, there's going to be some specific towns inside of the LA County. So this way you create specific locations for this, and then you link back to the core page from the location. So essentially, you can have something like so. For example, would be the core page, right? And then you have branches for specific location pages, right? So this is like, for example, location 1, location 2, and you always with those location 1, location 2, you always reference back to the core page, right? For example, with the example of heat pump installation, with those all locations that you create the pages for, you link back to the core 1, right? So this way you are basically having this internal linking, which Google absolutely loves, essentially. And then what also happens is that by ranking higher for those ones, because usually as I explained to you, for location specific pages, it's way more easier to rank for them, and like in page 1, position 1, which just completely dominate those keywords compared to broader keywords. Like for example, if going back to the UK example with heat pumps, so let's say you target UK, like the entire UK, right? So you have let's say, and you have locations based on cities and towns. So let's say you have Manchester, you have Leeds, you have London, maybe split London into Essex, any specific locations there as well, and then you have some more locations, right? And then you start dominating them, right? And then by definition of you having the internal link into this one, you automatically increase the authority of this page, and you're able to dominate the, let's say, heat pump installation UK generally, which is highly competitive keyword. You are able to dominate this way more efficiently, just purely because you have more pages internally that are ranking number 1, that are referring back to this page. Now, when done right, location pages stop being a filler. They actually drive results, they actually drive traffic, and they actually drive conversions. We see this with every single client that we do this for. This actually works, and this is one of the fastest way to get return on investment with SEO for your HVAC business if you're focused on residential or commercial clients. Bonus, of course, bonus. If you want a specific location page blueprint with clear checklists on how to make sure that your page is exactly optimized the location that you're trying to create it for, with actual examples of how this may look like, how you can approach the copy, how you can approach the offers for those specific pages, just comment blueprint where you watch this. I'm going to send this personally to you right away. Okay? Cheers.